Are you going to do the same thing today you did yesterday and expect a different result? Change what you think, change what you do, and tomorrow will be different from today. You know why it's so simple for me? Because I have a lot of experience. You can only change your tomorrows by changing yourself today. Welcome to another edition of Mark's Inspiration. Joining me here today, as always, the power is tonight. We're going to speak about women then and women back in the 50s. But panel tonight is
Franklin 17. You're on 15.
here we go. Anything about it? The American experience. Let me move this. There we go. American society. Oh, the reason I chose this topic tonight is kind of funny because in the last week I've been accused of being Neanderthal. Told me to crawl out go crawl back in under the rock I crawled out of. Where are you from? You get ideas from the 1300s, and because of my position on traditional relationships, I have nothing against the new idea of relationships, but I like traditional, and it's amazing how a lot of women want a traditional man, but they want to be like a single woman in a non-traditional relationship. So they want a man who's going to protect and provide for them, but yet they want to be able to go out with their girls and the guys and do all that stuff. Back in my day, it was unheard of for a woman that was married or a woman that had a steady boyfriend to be hanging around with a bunch of other guys. It wasn't proper. It was also unheard of for a girl to be taking gifts from a guy unless she was seriously interested in him and they were dating. It was considered cheap and whorish, really, if I can use that word. That's not the other word, the 304 word. It was considered a characteristic of a 304. I'll say it that way. So let's see what it was like back in the 50s. It was a little before my time. Middle ages, that's what they call it. I get accused of being several things. They didn't call me a misogynist this time, but they said it in a roundabout way using other adjectives. Okay, that's all right. American society in the 1950s was geared toward the family. Marriage and children were part of the national agenda. And the Cold War was in part a culture war, with the American family at the center of the struggle. I'm not sure about this. This may be slanted towards, I don't know what. We'll see. A propaganda war. That sounds familiar. I think we had a propaganda war in the last couple of years, didn't we? Embedded in the propaganda of the time was the idea that the nuclear family was what made Americans superior to communists. I'm not sure about that. Maybe it did. American propaganda showed the horrors of communism. I do remember that. In Lives of Russian Women, they were dressed in gunny sacks. I don't remember seeing that, but as they toiled in drab factories while their children were placed in cold, anonymous daycare centers. In contrast to the evils, are we okay on the sound?
Yeah.
In contrast to the evils of communism, an image was promoted of American women with their feminine hairdos and delicate dresses, tending to the hearth and home as they enjoyed the fruits of capitalism, democracy, and freedom. I don't really think that was too much propaganda. I remember it was kind of like that. That's the way I remember it. I do remember a lot of communist propaganda, though. The MRS degree. This may be an article by a feminist. I'm not even sure, but we're going with it. In the 1950s, women first tremendous societal pressure felt. I need to put my glasses on. Societal pressure to focus their aspirations on a wedding ring. Isn't that odd? What do they do now? What do they tell guys? You better put a ring on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's turned around. That's why we have, I think, one of the reasons, I guess that's a byproduct of the feminine men. A lot of people think there's some kind of a push for the feminization of men. I think they might be right. Yeah, because when are you going to put a ring on it? It used to be the other way around. The woman chasing the guy instead of the guy having to try to lock the girl down. The woman was always trying to lock the guy down. The U.S. marriage rates were at an all-time high, and couples were tying the knot, on average younger than ever before, getting married right out of high school because they knew what they were doing. They knew their peak ages for having kids was between actually probably 15 or 16 to 25 if they want to have 4 or 5 kids. Of course, now we say 18 because we don't want to be thinking anybody's a pedophile, but we won't go into that. So anyway, but those are the optimal ages for a woman to have kids, 15 to 25. By the age of 30, 90% of a woman's eggs are gone, okay? They don't want to admit that. That pisses them off. I didn't make it up. So there's a study on it. Here we go. Okay. Getting married right out of high school. In college was considered the norm. All right. A common stereotype was that women went to college to get a MRS, pronounced MRS degree, meaning a husband. Oh, they went to college to hook up with a man, to get a husband, not hook up. Although women had aspirations in life, the dominant theme promoted in the culture and media at the time was that a husband was far more important for a young woman than a college degree. Well, they've changed that. Now we got all these women in college. Actually, women hold the highest college debt of anyone, and they can't pay it off either. They get these useless degrees, and they can't get a job, and they're paying back their college debt for the next 20 years. So he's playing. I thought he was signaling us. Okay. Despite the fact that employment rates also rose for women during the period, the media tended to focus on a woman's role in the home. If a woman wasn't engaged or married by her early 20s, she was in danger of becoming an old maid. I remember that. Now they tell the women that they can go out and just live it up, have your party years, go out there and have a good time, or the 304 phase they call it now. And what happens to them? They get to about 27 or 30 and they're complaining, where's all the real men? Where's the good men? Well, they were doing all the good men in the early 20s when they had a chance to grab one, and they didn't do it because they always thought there was going to be one better. And that's part of the situation with social media, is there's such variety out there that they always think there's going to be somebody better. And they had every opportunity, probably more than once, to have a good man that would take care of them. And then society and the narrative is pushing them to go have your career, have your fun, do your thing. You got plenty of time to marry. If nothing else, you can freeze your eggs. That's bullcrap. I'm not saying that you can't get pregnant after 30, because you can, of course. But if you want to have 2, 3, or 4 kids, you better start when you're 20 at the latest. And you got to have a man to help you do that, unless you want to get on the system. And that's what a lot of women do. They think they don't need a man, but really it's the man, Uncle Sam or the IRS or the government supporting them through welfare system. So they get the idea that they don't need a man. Whereas we're in other countries, they realize they do need a man directly because they don't have the parachutes or the safety nets for women if they get pregnant. And I remember too, if a woman got pregnant and she wasn't married back then, they would actually send girls away to have the kid. And extramarital affairs were really they were like, you were thought of as pretty bad. Well, and why not? You're breaking a contract. You made a contract with your man, and if he did, it was the same way. Either one of them committed adultery, was considered low-life crap and broke up the marriage. And actually in the court system too, if you committed adultery and you could prove that during a divorce, whoever committed adultery would get the least in the divorce. Now we have no-fault divorce, and it doesn't matter what you do. A man could come home, catch his wife in bed, and yell at her, and she could call and get an ex parte on him and kick him out. They file for a divorce, and she's going to get half. Yeah. So, I believe in equal rights. Is that equal? Of course it isn't. I don't think it is. And we've talked about this before, about the fact that a woman can walk in here and start hitting any one of us. But if you defend yourself and you hurt her, the good chance you're going to get in trouble. Okay,
Yeah.
but if a man come in there and did the same thing, you could deck that guy and keep him from getting back up, maybe hit him again, and you'd be okay. But then they cry about equal rights. They don't want it equal across the board. They just want it equal in what they want it equal in. Because if there were equal rights, we would have the same crime and punishment, and we don't. If you look at the statistics, the woman never gets the same punishment as the man, nor does as much time for the same crime. So anyway, but women today have become very bold, and I don't believe they should be oppressed. And I'm not one to be oppressing any women. I don't think women ought to be beat on. Like in my neighborhood back when I was a kid, had a guy across the street. He was kind of a drunk, and he'd slap the hell out of his wife all the time. I didn't think that was really the right thing to do. I mean, they stayed together, but I never saw the police come up there. Of course, I don't believe in that, but I also don't believe the contrast of that, where the woman should be able to. And I've seen this happen. I know people personally where the woman has beat the crap out of the guy, and he knows he cannot fight back. Okay, we say he can walk away. Well, maybe he's got kids, and that's his home. What's he going to do? He doesn't want to leave his kids. I mean, but that's what he has to do. And then if you go to court and she's not completely honest, as we all know, a lot of times when it comes down to divorces and kids, women are not going to be completely honest, then he's screwed there too. The court system definitely favors, and as opposed to back then, it was more equal as far as if one of them screwed up, they'd be thought of as badly and would be treated differently in the court system.
Mm-hmm.
If the man was committing adultery and she could prove that, then he got the shaft. But it's not that way anymore for either one of them. So, all right, single and pregnant. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. If remaining single in American society was considered undesirable, being single and pregnant was totally unacceptable, especially for white women. Girls who got in trouble were forced to drop out of school and often sent away to distant relatives or homes for I remember that, for wayward girls. Shunned by society for the duration of the pregnancy, unwed mothers paid a huge price for premarital sex. Okay, and what do we got now? Now we got girls 14 years old with a body count of what? Tell me. 15, 20?
15, yeah.
Pregnant girls in high school. I mean, because now...
There's a girl in my grade that's already pregnant. There's a few girls, actually, that's already pregnant with kids.
That was unheard of. I mean, it was rare back when I was a kid because it was thought of as... It was shunned by society, basically, because the promiscuity. It just was, and so we've made that all acceptable now. And I've seen girls 15, 16, or even 19, whatever, and say, well, I'm pregnant. Well, who's the dad? Oh, I don't know. It's just like, well, how are you going to support it? Well, I'll go down and sign up for welfare. So a man is supporting her. It's the government is supporting her. And that structure and that system was put together by men, and it's maintained by men mostly. The taxes, of course, women pay a lot of taxes now, but men built and maintained those structures that these women gives them the illusion they don't need a man. It would be like me saying I don't need a woman. Well, I don't need a woman in the same sense that a woman needs a man, but if I want to procreate or have kids, and really the optimal way to raise kids is with a man and a woman in the home. I know that. I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to say I don't need no woman to raise kids. I can do it, and I don't need any financial help, as where a woman can't do it without financial. I don't get any child support for you 6 kids. Never did. Didn't ask for it. Probably wouldn't get it if I wanted.
Yeah.
So
been doing it for years.
Yeah.
So.
What's the point? But a woman, very, very rarely can a woman do that, if ever. Okay.
I seen this one thing on Instagram, and it was this
cooking.
one girl. She was crying she was actually crying about how she tries to support her kids, and she's got all these children, and she's by herself and everything like that. And
how many baby daddies does she have?
Yeah, that's the thing. This dude was crude. He was very crude, and he goes, you weren't crying when you guys were being together sexually. But he said in more of a crude way. But
I agree. I mean, it's another thing, too, though, this where they're having that Roe versus Wade abortion thing. A woman had a choice when she decided to allow that guy to have sex with her right then. I mean, that's one thing, again, where women don't want to take accountability. Unless they were raped, that's a whole different ballgame. I mean, I'm not saying. But otherwise, they allowed that to happen. They chose to have sex with men.
Yeah.
So, and there's all kinds of contraceptives for a woman. So what excuse does she have to get pregnant?
Mm-hmm.
And then because she doesn't like the father or it's inconvenient for her, she wants to get rid of the child. And, they never say it's a child. they act like, unless it's born, they act like it's not a.
Yeah, like
And I've said this before. I've been with 3 different women who have had abortions, and it haunts them. They don't, as far as I know, they don't counsel the women on the psychological effects of that. Every time a birthday rolls around, the time they wonder what the kid would be like, what he or she would be. Just it goes on and on. They cry about it. They have nightmares about it. And this is 3 different ones that I've been with that have had problems.
And they all have the same reaction.
They all have the same reaction. But it seems like a quick fix to a problem. A problem because they didn't take responsibility and use birth control. And even now, they got shots that if you take them once a month or whatever it is, you don't get.
They last for
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't even understand. And taking away a woman's choice. She had a choice when she had sex with the man to use contraceptive. Like I said, unless she was raped or something like that, I don't understand that. Well, where's the accountability there?
Yeah,
I mean, hey, if the man has sex with her and she has the baby, then he's responsible for it. He's got to pay child support for us.
Yeah, I see this thing. Dave Chappelle, he goes, well, if you can abort it, at least the guy should be able to leave or abandon it or whatever.
Oh,
he was just making a joke
you're
about
a deadbeat dad if you do
Uh-huh.
that. Yeah, you can't do that. And the strange thing, we're getting off the topic, but the strange thing to me is that a woman can abort that baby, but let's say she's doing drugs and doing all kinds of things, and she decides not to abort it, but the baby is born with all kinds of problems because of her drug use and abuse of her own body and the baby's body while she's pregnant. And whatever medical problems that child has, guess who has to pay for that? The father. Okay, and she's not held responsible for any of that. And there's a lot of babies born now addicted to crack or cocaine or the different things like that. And they're a mess because the mother was addicted on drugs. But yet the father's still responsible for the health of that baby, and she is not held accountable for her abuse of that baby in the womb. I don't understand that. The cat.
I'll get him.
You put that cat up.
I'll put him in my room.
Okay. Anyway, excuse the interruption by the cat. You going to say something?
No, I wasn't.
Oh, okay. So we'll move along from that. Abortion's a hot issue here. Decades of childbearing. But even for happy homemakers, pressures were mounting in a departure from previous generations. It was no longer acceptable for a wife to shut her husband out of the bedroom. Starting in the 1950s, sex was viewed as a key component of a healthy and loving marriage. And I think it still is. Without an effective female-controlled contraceptive, they didn't have contraceptive back then, young wives faced 3 decades of childbearing before they reached menopause. No, actually, they had condoms back then. Because my dad used them, and I seen a lot of them. Then the pill came in the late 1950s. Both single and married American women were ready and waiting for a new and improved form of birth control. When the pill was introduced, the social factors affecting women's reproductive lives contributed significantly to the warm reception women across the country gave the pill. Oh, man. That's the end of that. We'll talk about that then. Yeah, I could say, I wish I could put this picture up there, what they look like. The 1950 family. So what do we got now, though? We got a lot of unwed mothers, 50% divorce rate, 70% initiated by the woman, broken families, every other weekend dads. Man, it goes on and on, the problems. We got Instagram 304s and women showing themselves all over the place. There's no the more. Oh yeah, somebody else said something about when I was born or something. I said, yeah, I was born. She insulted me, and I said, yeah, I said, you're right. I said, I was born at a time where morals and ethics were very important, as opposed to now where, we got who's the WAP girl? What's her name?
Cardi B.
On there basically she promotes using her women's parts to get stuff from guys, right? Basically. So that we used to call that prostitution. I don't know. I guess they call it something different now. And then a lot of young girls look up to her and think
she's a national hero.
Yeah, she didn't win Woman of the Year or something, did she? Like that?
No,
Yeah.
that was
who was that? That was Caitlyn Jenner.
But
Yeah.
like, for example, like with Cardi B, she doesn't play that song around her. I think it was her daughter. I think because she doesn't
Really?
want to promote like anything bad towards her.
But yet she has it for everybody else. Huh. I don't quite understand that.
Man, I'm cooking up.
It is hot.
Are you trying to get the last bit of it?
All right, I'm looking for something here. Oh, here we are, right here. All right.
Gotta check it, make sure it's.
So I wonder what's happened since the 1950s. Well, I guess the birth control pill started, and women's liberation.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, I remember you've come a long way, baby, to get where you've got to today. You got your own cigarette. Even back when I was younger, a woman who smoked was kind of looked down upon.
Mm-hmm.
Although my mother smoked since she was 13, but I remember she smoked Virginia Slims. That was the women's lib cigarette. Women were burning their bras in liberation. So where has it gotten them? I don't know. Are they any better off now than they were?
I mean,
Hell no.
in my personal opinion, the way I've seen the way females are, and I hung out with a couple females the other day, and they were talking about how they weren't specifically saying anything, but they were acting like how they use guys and how these guys are so in love with them and how annoying they are and just kind of being very disrespectful. Which, don't get me wrong, guys talk like that too, but the way these girls go about it, they talk about like using their body parts to take advantage of certain guys.
Right. That's a common thing today, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they even got some girls got phones programmed, Uber, dinner, and this is certain guys that they know is going to take them out, and they're not interested in them romantically. They're just using them to, and that was unheard of when I was younger too. And if some girl did that, which I don't even remember anybody doing that, she would be considered pretty trampy.
Mm-hmm.
Frank, you were going to say something?
And nowadays, since so many girls have gotten on birth control, they'll use their body to get like nick.
Oh,
Like they will literally,
nicotine. Yeah.
like they'll use their body just to get
a hit.
ahead of something, or
It almost
you know
seems
what I mean?
like they're like, it's just as close as like a crack addict, you know?
Yeah, and
They'll
now
do
it's gotten to the point where the minute the girl gets put on birth control, she immediately thinks, "Oh, I can just go have sex with anybody I want."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's pretty bad. Like I've seen some girls that really push it, like.
Well, yeah, I've seen girls that you guys come over. They would come over here when we first moved in here with 13 years old, and you were 14 or 15, and they come over here and spend the night.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you did anything, and I don't want to know, but their mothers is like, where are their mothers at? Where's their parents at? And they were running around here and there. And then one night I had the DFS the DFS called me and got on me because there was a storm at 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah,
and there was a bunch of kids in the park, and they all come and got in my basement.
Mm-hmm.
And there was something that happened there, and I don't know what. Later on, one of those girls was telling something happened between one of the boys, and she did some stuff.
And then she
was asking to do it, and then she did. And then later on, she was in DFS, and they called me up. Well, don't you know what goes on? I said, I'm in a 2-story house. I said, I'm up in the second floor. It's storming. She's getting on me, and I'm like, well, where's these kids' parents at? They came to my house for refuge. I can't be down there at 3:00 in the morning to make sure they're okay when I don't even know they're there. It's like, and she was like, well, you should put cameras and sensors on the doors. And if I would have done that, then they'd be telling me I was some kind of freaker. I wouldn't do it anyway, but it's just like, so they were getting on me, but that's what's going on. You got kids like it. How many kids were down there? I don't know. Were you down?
It was like, they were actually like, and they were all around the house. They were upstairs in Claude's room, and some of them were in the basement.
And some in the living room.
Yeah.
Before
there was probably like 6 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But, well, and speaking of which, too, it's just like, even if you had cameras and had surveillance, kids find a way around that.
Yeah.
If they're gonna do something like bad,
at least you were safe. I mean, the tornado was going or whatever it was.
Yeah, and it's like they expect you to get up at 3:00 in the morning if you have cameras in here just to look at them. Like sit there all night looking at the cameras, making sure the kids are okay. Like you can't monitor 3 rooms at the same time, making sure everybody's fine.
Yeah,
on cameras.
Yeah, I'm gonna hire somebody to set up all night.
Like at 3:00
but
in the
at
morning.
the same time too, it's like you're busy, so you can't continuously be watching all of us at the same time.
Where's the responsibility of the parents? I mean, instead of getting on me, why don't you go back into the parents and say, why was your kid out at 3:00 in the morning and she's 13 or he's 14, 15 or whatever?
And then for example, like Paulina, she's got a friend that like sneaks out, and she's young. She's got a bunch of tattoos, and she's about Paulina's age. She used to come over here all the time, sneak out, and she doesn't really have, I guess, a mom and dad, but she has an aunt, and she comes over here, or she used to come over here and just do bad stuff, like, I guess, illegal stuff, you would say.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's why. Yeah, we run her off. I think Paulina ran her out, didn't Rick? She come over here trying to do something, either drinking or smoking or something like that, and Paulina run her off. I know because we don't let that crap go on here. I know. Used to be. Was it somebody else come here and wanted to? I run somebody else out because they were smelling like weed one time. Of course, weed's almost legal, but I told them we couldn't have any of that stuff here.
Yeah, I know how it is. It's like you don't.
I don't do anything.
Advocate.
I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. And I don't like it in my house. So, all right. So moving right along. What? Where were we at? I forgot where we was. Women getting pregnant.
Yeah,
Is it
society today.
Birth control.
Birth control. Yeah.
I
So
must
with all the forms of birth control, how many? There's only one form of birth control for men, and there's just a condom. They got
condom.
No, they're coming. I think they're coming up. Like I think there's a new sort of thing or something like that that men could take.
Yeah, there's like a pill they can take.
What is it that men can do? Like a what is it like a?
Vasectomy.
Yeah, but it's like reversible as well.
Yeah.
I think.
Let's see what we got here.
Forgot what it was.
Male
but
birth control.
They like stop the flow of it too.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can.
Oh, there's a pill. Oh, could soon. Yeah, I don't think they have anything except a condom. And we all know how condoms are. They break.
Mm-hmm.
A non-hormonal birth control pill could soon expand men's birth control options. Really, I think there is. Condoms is all I know. But I guess I heard they were trying to come out with something. Yeah, it says women have many choices for birth control. Then once again, I'll go back to that. Then why are they getting pregnant if they have to have an abortion? If they got all these options of birth control, it all goes back to they're not being accountable. They're not being responsible. I mean, that's what it amounts to. And then we got the women. What was that one basketball star? They went and got the condom out of the bathroom and inseminated themselves, got themselves pregnant, and then he had to pay child support. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, there was this one girl. Her name is Brittany Renner, and she got impregnated by this basketball player, and she kind of pushes towards. What it seems like to me, at least, pushes towards like using men. It seems like she even wrote a book about
how to do it.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
So
I mean, that stuff was unheard of. It wasn't even. I just don't understand it. It wasn't even. Nobody even thought about doing things like that back when I was younger.
Yeah.
Well, now there's. Go ahead.
Also, there's this one girl that she like messes with dudes that don't have any bodies, and she'll make them fall in love by having sex with them,
right?
And then she has other options to go to if her and another guy don't work out. She'll go straight back to the other guy that is falling in love with that girl. But lately, the last dude that she did that to, and she only has him now. Like he was her last option if she broke up with the other guy. Me and him were talking, and I told him to just move on, like completely ignore the girl, and she has no options. Now she's stuck with just this one guy, and if she doesn't leave him, or if she does end up leaving him, she has no options to go to next.
And then you also have like the girls that are in adult entertainment industry. Yeah, so you got like I think Lana Rhodes or something.
Lana Rhodes.
Yeah, people were making fun of her because she was about to have a kid. And they were saying stuff like, "I bet that baby will slip out easily."
Yeah,
who's the dad, or like just. But and then she felt attacked, but like that stuff is on the internet like forever, pretty much.
I know. Then we got all these OnlyFans girls.
Well, one thing I wanted to say about condoms is one thing that Drake does, and I've noticed. I see a bunch of memes on this. Is he'll put hot sauce in the condom to screw up the egg or like the sperm.
No, it's just to me, it's ridiculous that you even have to worry about stuff like. And I almost guarantee you, back in my day, if a woman would have done that, a judge would have got all over her ass, and she wouldn't have probably would have given the child to the man if he wanted it, and she wouldn't have had to say it. Because that's like, isn't that pretty like unethical, underhanded, low life crap to me?
Pretty low.
I mean, there were women back then that would try to trap a guy by because if you got a girl pregnant back then, you're almost certain to marry her. Because it was your honor. So there was the girls that would try to get pregnant on purpose. But then once again, the man had some control over it too. If he wasn't using a condom or doing the pull method, then he's got nobody to blame but himself. But then there have been times where a woman would tell men when the pill came out that, I'm on the pill, and they weren't. But once again, the man has the ultimate responsibility. You cannot never give someone else, a woman, control of the birth. You got to know what's going on.
You can have good pull-out game, but like there's also like, which I've seen this on videos and stuff like that. You can have good pull-out game, but you can still get a girl pregnant because there's the pre-cum.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and some girls, like, even if you want to like pull out, some girls will hold you and like you're screwed then.
Well, I knew somebody that was having sexual relations with this one girl, and they were together and they were being sexual. And what she did was she wrapped her legs around him, which obviously, if he really wanted to, he could have pulled away. But
Yeah, she wasn't cooperating anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it harder because first off, when you're in that situation, that time, it's like you don't really want to stop, but so you got to use your mind over your emotions to do that. And then, if she's resistant, it's like,
yeah, I seen this.
Why isn't that like some kind of rape or something?
Yeah,
if you did that to a woman, I never thought. If you did something like that to a woman, you'd be up to shit.
Yeah, nowadays it's like, oh, men can't get raped. They're stronger than us.
You admit that, but if you're with a woman and you're having sex with her and she tells you to stop, you can't say, well, what was that? I forgot. I lost my. You can't say you have to stop. You can't say, well, I was already in her.
Yeah.
But what's the difference between you're in a woman and you want to stop and she won't let you?
Yeah.
What's the difference? She puts wraps her legs around you and holds on to you. You're trying to quit. You don't want to have sex with her anymore. You want to stop, but she won't let you. What is the difference between that and you having sex with her and she changes her mind?
Yeah, and then
if you continue on, I'll guarantee you go to court and tell them that you continue and you want to stop. That's rape, but it's not rape the other way.
Yeah, and if it was a guy,
It's a double
it's
standard,
like it's like the court, like when you go to the like court or whatever, you tell a judge that like, oh yeah, she raped me. Well, do you have any evidence? Want you want me to make a sex tape? Is that what they want?
Well, the thing is, too, is it's like when the difference between a guy saying he got raped by a female and a girl saying he got raped by a guy, the most likeliness is the judge will believe the female before they believe the guy. Yeah. It's just kind of.
I never thought about that. What you guys just talked about. If the guy wanted to stop and he wanted to pull and he didn't want to have sex anymore, and that happens, and she doesn't let him out, why isn't that rape? Of course, I doubt if anybody's went to court and now let's say she got pregnant and you went to court. Let's do like the woman does. You wait, and then things aren't. You go there and say, "Well, I was raped." Well, how were you raped? Well, I wanted to stop, and she wouldn't let me, so then I orgasmed inside of her, and this is a result. Well, and I don't see the difference.
They expect like the men, like, oh, you should be accountable enough to know, but where's the accountability for women?
I know that's just it. See, it's double standard.
Double standard. Exactly.
They want equal rights, but they don't want equal rights across the board. It's like Jordan Peterson says, you don't see them out there fighting to get bricklayers' jobs, plumbers' jobs, painters' jobs, high-rise building, constructors' jobs, and things like that. They want equal rights in the CEO and all those types of jobs. So, yeah, it's definitely a double standard, more so than there was back then. Now, agreed, back then, women didn't have as many rights, but I really think they were happier. I thought about my grandma. Now she took home. We was on a farm, and she took care of all the household. She actually made butter and milk. We got the milk from the cows. She cooked for my grandpa. She always made breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and she canned stuff and took care of the garden and all that. She was happy, and he took care of her. See, that's where it seems like women today. Like when I'm speaking of this, if a woman was listening to me, she'd say, my God, you are from the old ages. What kind of woman do you want? A traditional woman. And guess what? He took care of her. He had over, I think, $250,000 when he passed away, which was a lot of money back then. And he took care of her very well. He was on the farm. She had everything she needed and wanted. If she wanted to buy anything, she could get it, cars. I mean, so why is that such slavery any more than the man, my grandpa, getting up every morning, going to work, plowing the fields, and doing all those kinds of things?
Yeah.
Or in this case, let's say it today, the man getting up and going to work. And I listened to a lady talking the other day, and I told this about your mom. When she stayed home with you kids, women would ask her, well, what do you do? Well, I stay home with the kids. Don't you work? Don't you work? That's a 24-hour day, 7-day-a-week job for a woman. You don't get any days off. There's no sick days because I did it with you guys. It doesn't get near the honor. It's belittled. And now this woman I was listening to the other day, she was saying she stays home. She's a traditional wife. And women belittle her and ridicule her, called her a gold digger, you lazy. Yeah, it's frowned upon. And what is more honorable, and I've said this before, than a woman raising kids? I mean, is that not a career? If it wasn't, you wouldn't have people making millions of dollars in daycare industries.
Yeah.
It's an important damn job. But yet today, it's belittled. It's like if I was married now and had a wife that stayed home and cooked and cleaned, I'll guarantee you she'd get crap from the women out there working. Like there's something wrong with that. I don't know. I don't think. But then all of them, a lot of them will say, "I wish I could stay with my kids, but we can't afford it." No, because you got 2 Escalades, a $500,000 $1 million home, a jet ski, and boats down at the lake, and you're showing your kids that the material possessions are much more important than the time you spend with them.
Yeah, and they're getting raised with other people's thoughts and beliefs.
Exactly.
You know?
And you don't know what those are. You have no idea. In today's society, who knows what they are? All right, we're going to wrap this up because our AC is broken, so it's extremely hot in here.
I'm burning up.
I called them to come fix it, but they could not make it till Monday, so it's about 80-something in here. We're glad you could join us here today. Next weekend, we plan on having a Marine here. And join me at 4 o'clock today on Rob's, what is his, Command Confidence. He's going to be having me on his show. And this Sunday night at 6 p.m., the Elders Council with Thor Markinson. I'll be on that show, and I can't remember what we're talking about. Come join us. What?
Busy man, huh?
Busy man, yeah. Okay. Well, we're glad you could join us. We'll have something going for you next week.